Somebody get Ja Rule on the phone so we can make sense of all this. Where is Ja? It's being reported that some of Diddy's charges are being dropped, and people are going crazy on the internet because they go, "Oh, Diddy's charges are dropped. He's coming home. Oh, this is crazy." Well, slow down. Let's go through the details of what's going on. Let's read some reports. Let's listen to some lawyers talk, and let's see what's really going on in this situation. Now, this report is going around that Diddy's case and his trial is coming to a close, and that they're doing closing arguments, and that the prosecutors today dropped the charges. And we're going to read exactly what happened, why the charges are being dropped, what it really means, and we're going to go through the details. Every live stream we start the same way. You guys know how we do. If you're a subscriber, you can be in the comment section. If you're not a subscriber, you can't be in the comment section. I ask that you guys keep the lights up, keep it respectful in the chat. And we start every live stream with a prayer, and then we're going to jump right into the content, man. Dear Heavenly Father, we come before you, God, another day grateful and thankful that we woke up this morning. God, I ask that you bless everybody that's listening. I ask that you let everything that I say today on today's live stream not just be entertaining, but let it be informative and educational, and let us pull something from these stories that we can take with us in our everyday life. In Jesus' name, amen. God bless you guys, man. I'm having a good day. I hope that you guys are having a good day. I see you guys in the chat. Slow down, calm down. Right? Everybody panicking. And, it was previously reported that Diddy was going to be testifying at his trial. And everybody, when that was reported, even I said it, I was like, that don't make sense. That puts you at risk, not just for, cross-examination for this case specifically, but for all the civil cases that he would have to go through. It puts everything he say on the stand, it would expose him for that. So when people heard, and when we all heard that Diddy was going to be testifying, we was like, oh, he's desperate, right? Because that's a desperate man's move. It means we ain't got nothing else to lose. You might as well just go up there and try to tell your story and get some sympathy, and hopefully somebody will believe you. And Diddy has been trying to use this charm, even flirting with the judge, not literally, not romantically, but in a charming way. He tried to flirt with the judge today. I'm gonna show you guys that in a second too. But when he said that he was going to testify, his lawyer was like, I don't know that I could keep him off the stand. He's very eager to testify. I don't know what I could do to keep him from getting on that stand because he really wants to tell his story. And then it was reported right after that Diddy said, I don't need to testify. Let's wrap this up. Right? Which we all thought was crazy. Like, oh, wait, is he confident? Does he feel like he's about to beat this case? What's going on? So the report said that Diddy is not going to take the stand and testify in this criminal trial because his defense team plans to rest their case without calling any witnesses. So his team didn't even call any witnesses to, try to defend him in closings in the last couple of days of the trial, which we're getting to the last couple of days now. And the report from Business Insider said that Diddy's lawyers signal they won't be calling defense witnesses, which is kind of crazy too. Because I don't know if that indicates that we're giving up, or I don't know if it indicates that we're so confident in the things that we already have presented and what's there, or maybe there's just nobody there to testify. You guys remember the scene in American Gangster when Denzel Washington, who was playing Frank Lucas, was sitting across from the cop that arrested him and said, Richie, I got sports figures, I got celebrities, I got Harlem, Richie. I took care of Harlem. Harlem gonna take care of me. Right? And the cops say, I got more than that, Frank. I got people lined up around the block ready to testify against you. That was the same thing it seemed like it was going to be with Diddy, because Diddy has been a celebrity in the industry for how many years? 30, 40 years? 30 years? So why wouldn't he have a line of people ready to defend him and say, hey, and obviously he denied the plea agreement. He was offered a plea deal. He denied it. So you would feel like he has a plan on what he's going to do in order to not go to jail. So to not call witnesses, I thought it was crazy. To not have anybody that would, I don't know if anybody was willing, if they had anybody credible that would testify and help his case or not. But it doesn't seem like it. It says, as the U.S. government's criminal case against Sean Diddy Combs winds down, the hip-hop mogul's defense attorneys have signaled that they will not call any witnesses to testify on his behalf. Combs had hoped to testify in his own defense at the trafficking and racketeering trial and had been quietly rehearsing for the testimony with his legal team for weeks. So he's been rehearsing his testimony for weeks. And then out of the blue, just seemed like, well, now we're not going to testify. The quote said he's been adamant that he wants to do this. They've been getting him ready. It said, but it now appears that the music lifestyle entrepreneur has had a change of heart. On Monday morning during a scheduling discussion outside the jury's presence, lead Combs' attorney indicated to the judge that the defense would not call any witnesses, including Diddy. Lawyers who are not involved in this case previously told BI that Combs testifying could backfire and it would expose the one-time near billionaire to potentially damaging cross-examination from the prosecution. Right? Says if Combs did take the stand, the prosecutor may have been allowed to question him about his arrest record and the wave of sex abuse lawsuits against him. As recently as last week, the defense has said it would call at least 3 witnesses. One was a forensic psychiatric expert, psychiatric expert. And 2 were employees of Combs Global, the millionaire defendants company. They say a lot of words for no reason in articles. Combs will get one last chance to change his mind and to take the stand, according to this attorney, who's a former prosecutor. It says before the defense rests, the judge will tell Combs that it is his right to testify on his own behalf and will ask Combs if he is waiving that right of his own free will. And the reason for that is because they're trying to prevent him coming back with an appeal saying, hey, I really wanted to testify and I had legal representation that didn't represent me right. And I really wanted to testify, but I didn't get an opportunity to. So it says, as a quote, this lawyer said, the last thing anyone needs if he's convicted is for him to come back and say that I wanted to testify and they didn't let me or I didn't understand my rights. So everybody will still agree that not testifying is probably the smarter move for him. But that's the reason that, or maybe that's the reason he's not testifying. So he has a shot at an appeal. But it says in the article from Business Insider that, the judge is going to prevent that by giving Diddy the chance to testify and saying, hey, do you understand that you're waiving your right? Correct. And they're trying to put that on record so he can't come back and say, appeal. I was misrepresented. Another risk is that when defendants take the stand, the defense can suddenly shift the sole question, do they believe him? If Diddy were to take the stand, all of the other witnesses the defense called become either secondary or in many ways potentially irrelevant. If they don't believe Combs, then he's going to be convicted regardless of what others say. Cool. So that's where just to catch everybody up, that's where we've been the last couple of days. If you haven't been watching what's been going on with the trial, that's where everything has been, and I got a poll in the chat. You guys let me know. Do you think Diddy should be freed or do you guys think they should keep him locked up? Now, in terms of them dropping the charges, we talked about this previously. And I told you guys that there was a reason that they were setting up a lot of these charges that the government didn't really care about from the whole time. Now, Diddy's charged with a lot of different things, but I told you guys from the beginning with the Kid Cudi situation specifically, I said they're setting this up. I don't think that the government actually cares about this situation. I think that they're just setting it up so that can be the frame for the picture that they actually want to show everybody. And some of the charges that they presented, which are, I believe, are some of the charges that are being dropped. We're going to read the article and find out. Some of those charges, I believe that the government presented those charges in order to, okay, if we have to charge him with this so we can bring this witness to the stand so we can establish something else over here. It's a sleight of hand. It's not because we actually care about getting him convicted on this specific charge. We just need the door to be open for other things that we want to bring in the house. Does that make sense? So, for example, if we're going to charge him with arson, or if we want to bring racketeering charge, which means that he's using his legal organization, his legal business, in commission of a criminal organization to fund crime, then we have to bring some other charges that allow the door to be open so we can prove that. So let's charge him with arson so we can bring Kid Cudi to the stand, so we could prove that he used company vehicles, company credit cards, and company employees to commit crime. Not because we care about the arson charge, but because we care about the racketeering charge. Does that make sense to everybody? So let's see if that's the case. And let's go through this article and see what's going on with these charges that have been dropped. It says prosecutors want to drop some charges against Diddy before closing arguments. Prosecutors moved to drop some of the charges against Sean Diddy Combs a day before closing arguments are set to commence, though the mogul is still charged with sex trafficking and racketeering. So he's still charged with trafficking and racketeering. But some other charges have been dropped, and we're going to figure out what that is. That's what I'm telling you guys, right? By the way, just as a side note, I think that this whole trial is going to come down to closing arguments, because I believe there is a portion of the prosecution that's trying to get Diddy convicted based on him being a bad person. And they just want the jury to see that somewhat, it seems like. I think that they proved a few different things. They did prove the racketeering, and they definitely proved the sex trafficking. I'm pretty sure that they proved the racketeering too. And there, by the way, for all the social media heads that think that their opinion in the comment section or what the comment section is going to determine what happens in court, it doesn't. And they're going to go off the legal definition of these crimes. You may feel like, oh, it was consensual, but trafficking is when you move somebody from one state to another with the intent paying them for sex. I don't care if you're going from Barstow, California to Las Vegas and it's an 1.5-hour drive. If you go from state to state, it's federal sex trafficking. If you take a prostitute from here to there and pay them for that type of thing. Racketeering is I'm using my business to fund crime. I'm using a legal organization to not just fund, but to operate an illegal organization. That's racketeering. Excuse me. I think that the prosecution has proved those things, despite what anybody on the internet feels. It's gonna be a tough uphill battle. I think it's about how much time Diddy is going to get, not if he's going to get time. I think he's going to still be convicted. But I think it's all going to come down to those closing arguments, because you got to remind the jury, hey, this is the legal definition of the crime. This is how we proved it. This is the legal definition of that crime. This is how we proved it, right? And as far as racketeering, hey, it meets these standards, and these two things have been proven. We've proven these two things. This is racketeering, right? So anyways, let's get back to it. It says, in a letter to the judge, prosecutors said that they will not instruct the jury to consider kidnapping or arson or aiding and abetting sex trafficking charges prior to deliberations. So those are the charges that are being dropped. The kidnapping, attempted kidnapping, attempted arson, aiding and abetting trafficking. So in terms of the attempted kidnapping, right? That charge was brought because of the Capricorn Clark. One of Diddy's assistants testified, his former assistant testified in this trial, said that she was kidnapped by Diddy. And some other people, obviously, Cassie and some of the other victims from the freak offs are going to say, hey, I was kidnapped, but nobody's going to believe that anyway. And the prosecution knew that nobody was going to believe that. The jury is not going to buy that, right? Nobody felt like Cassie was kidnapped. But Capricorn Clark, who was the next assistant, did say that she was kidnapped at gunpoint and forced labor, was forced to go to Kid Cudi's house and throw a Molotov cocktail in his car. And a woman's DNA was found on the car. She kind of went to court, and it was insinuated that she was the woman and that Diddy kidnapped her. But like I said, they weren't so much worried about those type of charges. They were worried about opening the door so they could prove the big charges, which is the trafficking and the racketeering. Same thing with the arson. So they're trying to get rid of those. The arson would be blowing up Kid Cudi's car, right? They don't care about that. The quote says, the government understands the court's desire for streamlined instructions. Prosecutors wrote in the letter obtained by People. With that in mind, the government has suggested ways to streamline those instructions, right? So this is very important. The government understands the court's desire for streamlined instructions, basically saying that the judge feels so a packet comes. Actually, I think I saw a lawyer talking about this. I'll put that video up in a second. The judge gets a packet, and it's the packet that the jury is going to get. And basically, what the prosecutor is saying, we're trying to simplify that packet for the instructions for the jury, so they don't feel like they have so many things that they got to read through to come up with a guilty or not guilty verdict. So the government went on to say, with that in mind, the government has suggested a way to streamline those instructions. The government is no longer planning to proceed of these theories of liability, so instructions are no longer necessary. Basically, we're not worried about this arson charge. We're not worried about this charge, this attempted kidnapping or attempted arson. We're just going to take those out of that packet that the jury is going to get. All we want to convict him on is trafficking and racketeering. We ain't worried about the rest of the stuff. The letter was filed this morning after 6 weeks of trial testimony. The attorneys for both Diddy and the government, along with the judge, are finalizing instructions to the jury this afternoon. Closing arguments are scheduled to begin in the next couple of days. Jury deliberations potentially begin in the next 2 days. So Diddy is still charged, the article says. Diddy is still charged with trafficking, racketeering, and transportation to engage in prostitution. Those charges were not affected by the prosecution's letter, but the jury will now have fewer predicates to consider during deliberations. Excuse me. So that just summarized it all right there. Diddy is not just, all his charges are not dropped. It's just the ones that they don't care about. And we talked about this, and I told you guys, the government is smart, man. When you see that piece of paper and it says on Diddy's indictment, you know what it says? The United States of America versus Sean Combs. The United States of America versus one guy. They're not stupid. They didn't spend all this money on overtime, Homeland Security raids, 8 years of tracking this dude. It is a business for the government. And they're not playing games. And so these are streamlined. It's just streamlined instructions that the government is trying to present. It's not that they want Diddy to get off. It's not that they want that they think that he's innocent. It's not that they're scared to get him convicted. We never cared about those charges, is what the government is saying. We don't care about the attempted kidnapping or the attempted arson. They really don't care about none of the victims. If I'm being real with y'all, they don't care about none of these victims. They care about putting Diddy in jail. They don't care if Cassie got beat up unless it proves that we could put Diddy in jail. They don't care what he was doing in his personal life unless it proves we could put him in jail. It's a business for them. They spent so much money to get him convicted. They're probably gonna get a conviction. Now, the charges that he is still charged with, I think that they've proven those. Sex trafficking, he's still charged with. Racketeering, still charged with. Transportation to engage in prostitution, he's still charged with. All those, I mean, all those are still valid, right? The trafficking, we already know. Once you take somebody from out of state, that's what it is. The racketeering, we already know. How many? There's a reason. Let me say this. There's a reason before we move to I'm going to show you guys what this lawyer had to say. There's a reason that everybody that testified against him had to get immunity first. If they felt like we were innocent and there's nothing, we didn't do no crime, what's there to get immunity for? He has 7 employees testify against him. It wasn't just Cassie and the Jane Doe. It wasn't just like women that said, and prostitutes, excuse me, and all the other prostitutes. It wasn't just these people. He has 7 employees, former employees, testify against him. Now, I am curious what's going on with the Christina Karam thing, because her name was mentioned at least 20 times. Her name was mentioned by literally every witness. So I am curious if she's going to be convicted or she's going to be tried next. What's going to go on? But it's not like he just had a couple girls testify against him that's mad. No. But people don't read. So he's still charged with racketeering. He's still charged with trafficking and transportation to engage in prostitution. Those are crimes. I don't know why people think transportation to engage in prostitution is not a crime just because somebody consents. Prostitution is a crime. Period. All prostitutes consent. They all want the money. That don't mean that it's not a crime. You get what I'm saying? So those things I think the government has proven. And it's going to be, it's going to be tough for him to beat that case. So let's see what this lawyer had to say real quick, because I'm curious. More than anything, I want you guys to see what the packet looks like that they give the jury and what it looks, because uh, when they say that they want to streamline the instructions, there's a reason for that, right? So because that packet that they had prior to all this was pretty, it was like, bro, that's a lot of reading for anybody. I don't think a judge would want to read all that. So I kind of want to get I want you guys to see that, because I thought it was important. Give me a second and we're gonna pull this up. Somebody in the chat said, I'll be honest, I think they'll get Diddy on everything else but the RICO. You don't know what you're talking about. This is your brain on the internet. You got to read the articles, man. You got to read go look up the definition of racketeering so you can understand what racketeering is. You talking about RICO, bro. And people are like, oh, why is he only one charge? Because everybody else getting immunity and testifying. It's little fish getting the big fish. They got him. You cannot use a company credit card to go buy drugs. You cannot use company employees to cover up you having prostitution rings. That's against the law. I'm an employer. I have a little over a dozen employees. So I know that these things are crimes. You can't do that. But people still say, my feelings say, bro, your feelings don't have nothing to do with the federal guidelines. Your feelings don't have nothing to do with what the law says about crime. Regardless of what you feel, what it is what it is. You know? And putting free Diddy in the comments ain't gonna stop the government. I don't know why social media, social media has created this entitlement that, like, social media thinks they control society 100%. And it's crazy to me. Anyways, let's see what this lawyer presented the paperwork that the jury would have gotten before, and this is why it would be streamlined. Now, let's check this out.
Apparently, Mr. Ringo is an educated man. Now, I'm sure I hate him. So it is what ends up happening is the judge has got to give the jury a verdict form. What I find fascinating is both sides have submitted their proposed verdict form, and both sides are trying to lean back. Both sides are trying to slant everything towards their side. First, the government's proposed instructions are 4 pages long. And this is proposed. The judge has to decide which one he's going to go with. The proposed form, which I find interesting, first, it says, count 1. How do you find the defendant Sean Combs with respect to count 1, racketeering conspiracy? And you notice they put the word guilty first. Guilty, then the not guilty. And then what they do, what is interesting, is they go down all of the predicate offenses. If you have found defendant guilty of count 1, then please indicate whether the pattern of racketeering activity that the defendant agreed would be committed involved kidnapping, including attempted kidnapping, aiding and abetting kidnapping, or conspiracy to commit kidnapping in violation of California law. And they don't say guilty or not guilty. They say that has been proven or not proven. Why is that strong? Because remember, the standard between guilty and not guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, proven and not proven are different phrases. Did they prove it? Interesting wording that they're choosing to use. And then they go through each one. They have a B and they say, as to the predicate acts, kidnapping or not in violation of New York law. C, arson, proven or not proven in violation of California law. Bribery, proven or not proven in violation of California law. Involved tampering with a witness or victim in violation of federal law, proven or not proven. If you find the defendant guilty of count 1, then please indicate whether the pattern of activity that the defendant agreed would be committed involved forced labor in violation of federal law, proven or not proven. Then they say sex trafficking in violation of federal law, proven or not proven. And then it keeps going on. Prostitution in violation of federal law, proven or not proven. Another prostitution, proven or not proven. Distribution of drugs, proven or not proven. And then that's what they do for the RICO. And then they even go.
Come on now. Don't start buffering now. I shouldn't have touched it. Then it started buffering on us.
If you check proven for question G, and G was the sex trafficking. If you check proven for question G, then please indicate below whether as a part of the racketeering conspiracy, the defendant agreed to commit sex trafficking of Cassie Ventura in or about 2009 or in or about 2018, and 2, whether as part of the racketeering conspiracy, the defendant agreed or did commit sex trafficking of Jane between 2021 or 2024. Did count 1 involve sex trafficking of Cassie Ventura? Yes or no? Did count 1 involve sex trafficking of Jane? Count 1 or 2.
I think they got him.
Why is that important? That's important for the government because under the sentencing guideline, depending on the level of sex trafficking you get the multiple people, then the penalties are increased. Now that's just the RICO charge, and there was 2 more pages.
Did y'all catch that? He said, if multiple people, you can go to jail for just trafficking one person, but if multiple people are trafficked, then the amount of time that you have to do in jail is going to increase. The sentencing is going to increase. I think that's important. That's probably why they presented more than one person.
If you go with the defenses, it's 2 pages. They want to keep it simple, very, very simple. And if you look at theirs,
that's Diddy's lawyer's paperwork.
I want you to say this to the jury. How do you find the defendant not guilty or guilty? They do the not guilty first. They have the racketeering on top, not guilty first. And rather than listing all of the predicate acts that he could have done, they say the following. If you answered not guilty as to count 1, proceed to question 2. If you answered guilty, which racketeering acts do you unanimously find the defendant agreed would be committed? So it's just the subtleties.
Right.
One is saying proven, not proven. One is saying, did you unanimously find? And so that's the interesting thing about this. Number 2, getting a lot of questions that they said the defense is going to get ready to put on a case. Would you put on a case? No. Do you have to? No. Do I think they're going to? Probably not. I know they're saying they might put 2 or 3 witnesses. They can.
We found out that they weren't going to put any witnesses on the stand after this. Now, that being the case, right? Everything he just said is basically Diddy's lawyers is going to present a packet to the judge that say the jury should read this and base their guilty or not guilty verdict on this packet that we give you. That's Diddy's lawyers. The prosecution, they're going to give a packet to the judge and say, this is the one that we think that the jury should read, right? And this is the one that they should say, yes, we found them guilty, or yes, you guys proved it, or yes, you guys did not, or no, you guys did not, excuse me. Now, the significance of him showing us that paperwork and him telling us that, and the reason I'm showing you guys is because I want you guys to understand how long and verbose the prosecution's packet was prior to today. Did you guys hear how long he spoke about the prosecution's packet versus how short Diddy's lawyer's packet was to the jurors? So what happened today? Why the prosecution let some of those charges go in order for the bigger charges to be the main focus is because we don't want the jury to get confused. These are regular people. And you guys know we do entertainment news from the entrepreneur perspective over here. So here's a simple, very simple business lesson. In business, understand that the people that you're serving are typically, most people read somewhere at an 8th grade level or below. The prosecution understands that. So if we have a jury of everyday people, we don't want them to have to read through. They might say not guilty just because they got to read. No, I'm being funny somewhat. In all good jokes, there contains some truth though, correct? So in other words, we don't want these people to have to sit here for 3 hours, get fed up with the reading and just saying, bro, I don't even understand this. You don't want to confuse the jurors. So why some of the charges got dropped, the outside of the prosecution not really caring about those charges, they just wanted to open the door for the things that they do care about. Because we can't prove some of these things. It's hard to prove racketeering if we don't open the door for some of these other charges. So I gotta say, hey, we're charging him with arson, so we can open the door and we got to say kidnapping as well, so we can open the door for saying, hey, he forced his employees to go down here and burn the car down. That's a crime. that's racketeering. That's a separate crime than arson. But that is racketeering, using your employees to do so. You know what I'm saying? So the packet, what they dropped, the charges that they did drop today, the second reason was we just want to streamline, the words they use, streamline the process. In other words, let's just get to the important stuff. I don't care if the jury, I don't care if the jury is going to convict him on arson, if they feel like he did that or not, the attempted kidnapping. I don't care about, this is what the feds will be saying. They don't care about those charges because those convictions, if we just get these 2 or 3 convictions, then we'll be happy. So they just streamline in the process. That's all it is. And Diddy is still in court to this day. You know, as we speak, he still think that he in some form of control. Right now, he was in court and the judge asked him how he was feeling. And he said, or the article says he made the judge laugh. Now, not in a friendly way. I think it was a sarcastic laugh, but I'm gonna show you guys why I think that. It said, during the court proceedings, the judge asked Diddy how he was feeling. Diddy said, "I'm doing great, Your Honor. I've been wanting to tell you thank you, and you're doing an excellent job." The judge laughed after receiving Combs' compliment, and the defense rested his case after 23 minutes by reading a series of text messages between Diddy and Cassie. Now, in the Bible, and you guys know, that's how we talk over here. In the Bible, it says that Paul wrote, "I fear that the same way that the serpent beguiled Eve, Satan is going to try to deceive you." And the word beguiled means to deceive with charm. So when the serpent came to Eve in the garden, he didn't force her to do nothing. He didn't scare her into doing nothing. He deceived her with charm. That's what it says, deceive with charm. And throughout this case, we've read a lot of articles. We've covered a lot of it. And still, to this very moment, that seems like that's Diddy's number one tactic to control people. It's how it starts, with deceiving them with charm, beguiling them. And he still thinks that he has control, or he can still use his charm to, I don't know what he think he doing. But that the judge laughing, look, a judge will laugh in court with you and give you life, bro. And then go play golf at the end of the day. All before 5 p.m. I promise you. The judge probably laughed like, "Bro, you trying to be friendly with me, bro? I'm about to give you 350 years. Sarcastic laugh. You know what I'm saying? But sometimes the situation be so real it feel fake. And sometimes it don't feel like it's possible for it to happen to you until it happens to you. So now we're about to jump into our community hour. And this is where we talk about these topics from an entrepreneur perspective, because I'm an entrepreneur. And we have our private entrepreneur group on ulegend.com, the website scrolling right here at the bottom of the screen. So go check it out, ulgnd.com. If you're an entrepreneur, if you somebody out there trying to make your own success, go over there, join our community, because we talk about a lot. We have a lot of fun over there. You guys get to hang out with me a little bit more on a personal level rather than just these topics, right? But when I look at the situation, man, the level of control that he believes he has, it's like, bro, you trying to charm the judge? Just sit there. I'm doing fine, Your Honor. This is not your friend. He don't care. This dude. Let me see what you guys are saying in the chat, man. We in our community hour now. He said narcissist. Yeah, it is very narcissistic, right? It is very narcissistic. And somebody said Trump will pardon him. I don't think so. I don't think Trump gonna pardon him, because did he align with Kamala? And I think Trump feel a way about Biden and that whole cabinet. I don't think he gonna pardon him just because of that. Because they did try to put Trump in jail. And anybody that stand next to her, I think he got a serious problem with, personally. You know, it's so important to understand when God blesses you with something, understand the purpose for what God blessed you with it for. It's so important, because you look at a situation like Diddy. He's had everything. He's had access, privilege. You know, he's had finances, freedom. And in that comes choice. When you get that much freedom, you get that much access, you get all those benefits. It also comes with responsibility. And sometimes, even from on any level, no matter, we can all learn from that, no matter what level you are. We reject the responsibility of the blessings, but we just still want the blessings. You know how many people out there? You know how many people out there still want to go to heaven, even though they don't want to be bothered with God? That's like a lot of people, bro. You know, atheists will argue you down about why they should be accepted into heaven because they're a good person. But they don't want nothing to do with God, though. It's like we all do that on some level. Like, a lot of us at times want the blessings, but we don't want the responsibility that come with them. I was just actually, this is for my entrepreneurs. If you ain't somebody chasing success, this part of the program ain't for you. So you can, exit stage left. This is for my people. God has blessed me to become a millionaire for the last few years, 6-7 years. I've been really successful, and this is where we do this kind of talk. And I hope that you guys pull something from this. A lot of us, when we get our blessings, we'll even be willing to sacrifice them for, like, it's so easy to get distracted when you got so much. I always tell my employees, with options come confusion. When you got a lot of options, it's very, you ever walk down the aisle in the grocery store and you see all that ice cream? You in the ice cream section, and you got, golly, they got chocolate chip and they got Oreo and they got, I ain't never even seen some of these caramel toffee crunch and pecan praline and strawberry cheesecake. I don't know which one I want. With options come confusion, man. This is why you got to know what you're doing. When you get your blessings, you got to know why God gave it. When God give you an assignment, it's so important to understand what you're supposed to do, why he gave it to you. He didn't just give you, if God bless you with money, he didn't just give you money just for you to have money. It's always about serving other people. This is why I still get on YouTube, no matter how much money I make. I still get on YouTube and I talk about this stuff with you guys. And we go through these lessons and I try to help. And this is why we got the U Legend community. And this is why I do my inner circle. If you go to the website, join our community, by the way. This is why we do all that. Because no matter how rich God has allowed me to become, I know it's only because he wants me to do something with it. That I just know it, because that's what scripture say. But it can't just, I've had money for a while, and there is a certain point that you get to where you go, dang, I really can't buy nothing else. What else is there to buy? Once you buy the mansion, once you get the car, the nice car, once you buy all the clothes and take all the vacations, I've been around the world like 4 times. I've been to every continent. There's only so much you could do, right? And a lot of times we get our blessings and we forget that they're not just for us, they're for other people. And that we're supposed to continue to do the work and not slow down for the foolishness. And I think that's what I see in this situation. I always tell you guys the story that my grandmother used to share with me about success. And I see it in this Diddy situation. I see it in a lot of situations. By the way, there's a lot of people that are getting caught up with these sexual assault cases currently. We saw the one with Shannon Sharp. We saw the one with Tyler Perry. We saw the one with TD Jakes. We saw the one with Diddy. We seen the one with, like, it's so many, like, bro, back to back to, it's like every other week it feels like somebody catching another case like this. I don't think that Diddy is the only one, but I think it's very interesting that he's being pulled from that group. And there's a lot of other people that are getting caught up. The Abercrombie and Fitch CEO, I think his name is Mike Jeffries. Mike Jeffries got caught up in the same thing, and I think he's in a crazy hospital now. And they sentenced him to the crazy hospital because he's like 88 years old or something. But what's done in the dark it's always going to come to the light. And what's my grandma used to say, well, don't come out in the wash, come out in the rinse. But my grandma used to tell this story And I told you guys this before, for the ones that never heard it before, it's a lesson about success and what you're supposed to do with it. And this is how she would tell us. She would say, success is like going to the beach. The sand is God's perfect will for what he gave you the success for. And God rest her soul, my grandmother passed away in 2020. But she knew I was going to be successful. She always said that. God's perfect will is the sand. And sometimes the devil put us in a paddle boat and start rowing us out in the ocean. And because it's fun and because it feels good and we still technically at the beach, we start singing, closing our eyes, laughing, dancing, and start rowing with him. And then he gets us in the middle of the ocean and he pulls the paddle boats, he jumps in his speedboat, and he leaves us in the middle of the ocean. And the ocean in that parable represents sin. And sometimes the devil get us all the way out in the middle of our sin. And he didn't force us to do it. But it looked fun. When Diddy was doing everything that he was doing, it looked fun. From the outside looking in, dang, look, he got the yacht. Man, he on the jet. Man, 30 years, billionaire. Man, that got to be fun. Ciroc. And you just paddling out there in your sin. Singing, dancing, having fun. Then when the devil snatched the paddles and jump in his speedboat, you on trial by yourself, bro. And ain't nobody there to testify on your behalf. And the devil then got in his speedboat, left you out there, got you right where he wants you. Now, my grandma used to say, we can always find our way back to shore. It's just really hard when you don't have the paddles and you so far out. You done got so far out in your sin. You done got so far out in that ocean that you don't even know which direction shore is in anymore. So it's hard to get back to what God intended your success for. This is why. A lesson for all of us. When God bless you with something, understand the scripture says, to whom much is given, much is required. God ain't just giving it to you just because he wants you to have it. He's giving it to you because he wants you to have it to bless somebody else. You know, in my first book, it's called God's Automation. It's about three pillars. It's three principles that I believe made me a millionaire. And the biggest one in there to me, my favorite principle in that book, is called to serve. When God bless you with something, it's to serve other people. How do I know that? Because all scriptures point to it. The servant king is Jesus. That's the servant king, the suffering servant. He washed feet of the people that of one of the really all of the people that will betray him. He washed their feet. He said, let the greatest among you be servant of all. Paul went on to write, we ought to work for one another, serving each other as if working for the Lord himself. That's in the Bible. God ain't just blessing us. God ain't make, when we look at these situations, don't just look at it like, oh, this big celebrity, he just doing all this crazy stuff with his money. And no. Look at it like, dang, I better not get my blessings and start serving myself instead of the people that God sent me to serve. That's how you should be looking at it. Because in all these situations in entertainment news, you have to understand God can get the glory whether he gives it to you, or God can get the glory whether he take it from you. God is still going to be God, bro. Because in the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 2, verse 26, if you go read it, it says, to the one that pleases him, God is given wisdom, knowledge, and joy. But for the sinner, God is given the business of gathering and collecting only to give to the one who does please God. For the one who pleases him, God is given wisdom, knowledge, and joy. You do what God tells you to do with his blessings, he's going to keep giving you stuff. It says, but for the sinner, the one that don't do what I tell him to do, the one, what is sin? To know right and to do wrong. That's it. You know the right thing, but you do the wrong thing. That's all sin is. For the sinner, the scriptures say, God is given the business. Business. That means you're going to be working on it daily. Working hard. Feeling like you're making progress, but God is giving you the business, the scriptures say, of only gathering and collecting. You just gathering and collecting. And it says only to give to the one who does please God. For all the years that Diddy was in business, guess what's going to happen to all his stuff? when he go to jail, or he in jail now. But guess what's going to happen when he's convicted? Guess what's going to happen to all this stuff? Seized. Guess where his kids going to have to start? From scratch. That's not just him that can happen to. Because the principles are the principles. So we got to understand, when we, especially as our entrepreneurs and our professionals that are listening, when you look at these situations, don't just look at it like, man, that's crazy. No, look at it like, dang, God ain't playing. God don't be playing. I'll never forget about, I want to say a year ago, I was sitting in my office and I had a revelation that, man, God could take all this from me and still get the glory. I could easily be an example of what not to do with God's blessings. Got to be aware of that, y'all. Got to be aware of it. You can easily be an example of, man, don't be like him. Don't be like her. Look what God and took everything from her. Easily. Just as much as you can be an example of, man, look, God gave that to her. God gave that to him. And he just multiplying it. She just doing what she's supposed to do with it. She just helping everybody she can. Don't be the latter. Or don't be the former, excuse me. Be the latter. You know? And that's the lesson that I see in all this. When I look at it, I'm like, dang. That's somebody that God, you started sinning and God gave you the business of gathering and collecting. When all he wanted you to do was do what you were supposed to do to please him with the blessing that he gave you. So I hope that you guys learned something from this. Join our private community. I'm probably going to go in front of the mansion and just have some conversation with you guys in the U-Legend community. Go look at it, From Stuck to Seven Figures private live event. It's our 4 steps to turn your purpose into profit. Go to the website. It's scrolling at the bottom of the screen. It's also pinned in the chat. And I want you guys to watch that, because I teach you how to find your purpose, find the perfect business idea for you, and turn it into profit. Because, man, when you walk in God's purpose, you'll never be, I believe that God gives you everything. Everything. I just genuinely believe it. I was just reading this morning, actually. I was reading Nehemiah, I think it's chapter 6, verse 3. I think it's, I want to quote it correctly. It's Nehemiah 6 and 3. And what it talks about, or what it said, was so powerful to me. I just want to share it before I leave you guys. It says, quote, "I am doing a great work and I cannot come down. Why should the work stop while I leave it and come down to you?" When you have success and you own your purpose and God give you an assignment, walk in that. Don't get distracted by the people that's saying you great. Don't get distracted by the people that's saying, wait a minute, slow down. No, it says, I'm doing a great work and I cannot come down. Why should the work stop while I leave it and come down to you? That's in the Bible. That's Nehemiah chapter 6, verse 3. Why should the work stop while I leave it and come down to you? God gave me something to do, bro. I ain't got time to be doing this stuff. If you focused on what God got for you, you ain't got time for the foolishness. And when I look at the situation in this entertainment news and these stories and these articles, and I'm like, dang, man, that's somebody that got distracted. You forgot. You forgot what it was for. Don't forget what it's for, guys. Because everybody has that. Everybody has a purpose. Everybody has an assignment. Don't forget what your assignment is for. I love you guys. I hope that you guys was blessed by this live stream. I hope that you were not just entertained, but I hope that you were educated and informed. Hit that like button on your way out. If you haven't hit the like button yet, if you've here this long, still a little over 1,000 people in here right now live. So hit that like button on your way out. And I'll see you guys on tomorrow's live stream. God bless you guys.